Birds of Prey, issue 7, legacy number 205. Kelly Thompson writing with Javier Pina on the art. This is the start of a new arc. We were very impressed with the sort of setup of this arc in the last issue, which revealed the whole, there's an evil time traveler trying to kill Barbara Gordon. Like, okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
All right.
And the revelations, there we go. Word always of how the time traveler's doing it. I thought that was super smart. And so this is the type of stuff I look forward to from Kelly Thompson.
Yeah, so this issue, new artist, compared to, obviously we had Romero on the last arc. I have to say I quite like this artist as well.
I really like this art.
Yeah.
Also, and it's, I know it's only a 2-part arc, so
yeah,
I would still expect Romero to be back long term.
That's probably true. Yeah, it's probably 2 issues and then they're back. And this seems like it's obviously they talk about this plot that we're going into, but this 2-parter does feel like it's sort of giving them a quick sort of like related mission to that plot, but kind of its own little self-contained thing overall, where they end up working with Vixen on a story. But yeah, actually, this issue. In the same way that, Tom Taylor is so good on Nightwing at just pulling those little emotional strings occasionally, there's a moment in this that caught me really off guard, that really hit me. There's a moment where the mission's starting late in the issue, and Barbara's talking to Dinah over the comms, and Dinah just sort of like pauses for a second, and Babs is like, what? And she's like, I missed this. And I was like, oh, that's actually really sweet, because it's been a long time since we had this classic Birds of Prey stuff going on. And then later panel, after, like, she sort of says, oh, don't be gross. But then when she ends the call, Babs says, I missed this too, but when she can't hear it. And I thought that was a great little exchange. It was like, yeah, we've all missed Birds of Prey being a proper book. This is great. I'm into it.
I knew you're such a mark. I knew that was going to get you.
It
got me too, but yeah, I knew Pete was going to rave about that aspect.
Yeah. That was awesome. Yes. Anyway, so they're talking to Meridian about this time traveler killer and whatnot, and trying to figure things out. And they basically deduce that she invented her time travel tech around the green, or it connects to the green and actually uses the green to do its teleportations. And when they're looking at the readings for stuff, they're saying, hey, whoever this evil time traveler is, they're not using the green, they're using the red. And she's like, well, I don't know anything about that. Well, luckily we know some people who do. So that's why they end up contacting Vixen, and we get a whole big segment going to them. Although before that, there's a great comedy scene with Barda and Cass.
I'm so glad that Thompson stated that Cass and Barda are staying on. Right? They seem to be Canary, Barda, and Cass seem to be the core going forward.
I would assume Babs as well after this arc is resolved, because that was the whole thing. It's like, okay, now we know why she wasn't involved in the first arc. She'll probably end up being a permanent team member going forward.
Yeah, if not actively as Batgirl, and certainly as Oracle.
As Oracle, right? Which I would argue it's kind of hard to have a good Birds of Prey without an Oracle, right? So
yeah, I mean, if you go back and read the early Birds of Prey stuff, it's all Babs doing the sitting at the chair, doing the computer stuff, talking.
She's
to
the one in charge
Dinah.
of like everything. Yeah. Just like you're gonna do this and you're gonna do that.
Yeah, she's the brains of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice. But no, they mentioned that Barda and Cass are working with Sin to train her, and Sin's kind of this. She's got this new status quo where she's kind of like she is kind of sharing her body with the goddess, and it's the whole thing.
Yeah, she's almost a demigod.
So, but it cuts to them, and it's the banter between them, between Cass and Barda, which has been fun throughout the whole book thus far. But it was really cracking me up here, and it told me that they know, like Thompson and Co. know exactly what's working right now, because their backwards and forwards is great. Like all the stuff about like
make her pay in blood.
Yeah,
make
her pay in blood. Yeah, we'll stop you at any cost. And Cass is like, no, appropriate cost.
Yes. Well, I love that it's Cass being the one that's doing that, because the short sentences really go, because the way that Thompson writes Barda, it's this very, very flowy, lots of words, and then with Cass, it's very short, punctuated.
Yeah.
And it just makes a good back and forth.
It also works because, like, Cass is normally the badass fighter, And I like that pairing it with Barda, she's finally with someone who's like, not that Cass is bloodthirsty necessarily, but that Barda's like even more of like into the fighting than she is in a way. So having her have to realize that she's the one playing the calm down, like we can do this more tactfully is interesting.
And, yes, well, and the fact like when you hear that they're training Sen, I'm thinking, okay, well they're doing fighting training or this other stuff. And then it's revealed they're at laser tag, which is just another fun moment, because it's something that's serious but not too serious.
Because Sin blocks a punch from Barda, and then Cass is able to sneak up behind her, so they start sparring, and there's a great page here where they're fighting in the foreground, and it's all just negative black space and silhouette, and it's just Barda watching them fight and sort of commenting, and you're giving running commentary of like, oh, you can hit better than that, young bat or little bat. You can do better than that, Sin, and just kind of like paying off the person who works at laser tag. So that,
the employee comes in and be like, you're kind of destroying everything. They're like, here's the card.
Oh, okay, thank you. We love you.
So is this Bruce funding this? Is this like a back card through Barbara via Bruce?
No, it's Ollie.
Oh, you think Ollie's paying for this? Okay.
Yeah.
The art in that page is really good, as is the big 2-page layout with the fight starting. All really good. And then basically Babs is giving them an appointment to see Vixen, because Vixen's hard to see because she's a celebrity, she's got her own clothing line as is brought up, she's a model, all the rest of it. But Oracle's just hacked into the system and gave them an appointment. She didn't get one, she just gave themselves one. Which Vixen realizes when she realizes who's like, wait, I don't have an appointment this afternoon. Oh, it's Barbara Gordon. Oh, I see how this happened.
You did it to me.
Like, go on then.
Yeah. So they want her help with the red stuff, and she's like, yeah, that's cool, but can you help me with something? And it turns out there's a separate problem, although it may be connected, it may be related to the time traveler, because maybe he's going after different birds of prey, and Vixen has been a birds of prey, or been a bird of prey, I should say. Random people all over the world who are wearing her clothing line are like effectively being possessed and doing crime and not knowing why they did it. Like, it's like they come out of a trance afterwards, and Vixen knows that it's something like that because it happened to her, and it's only because she's Vixen and was able to get herself out of the situation with her powers and whatnot that she's also not in prison. So we get like this flashback sequence where it happened, and the colors in this book are really good, and they're very kind of like similar to what the coloring was before. It may be the same colorist, I didn't check. But the art looks different, but very cool and similar coloring, so it still feels like it's in the style that we've had established. It's still pastels, it's still all that kind of stuff.
On colors, so that sounds familiar.
Yeah. But when it goes to the flashback, they do this thing that I really like, where it's a very limited palette, where it's a lot of creams and then black and red, basically, to sort of give it this sort of bleached look.
It's like almost like a
purples and oranges. Yeah.
Purple, I wouldn't say it's, well, maybe a very, very slight tint of purple.
Yeah, but it's like that effect to it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But no, I like what Connor's saying, the kind of sepia tone where
there's purples on the like the guys in the suits have that purple tone to them.
It gives it an aged feeling without it being black and white. And I appreciate that. And then when the action really gets going, that's where the orange turns to more red, and so I like all that too. It's very, very visual storytelling, and it's one of my favorite parts of the book. I mean, Bellar's coloring is really strong.
And I really like the facial expressions and the art in here as well. There's been a lot of good ones so far. Vixen basically says, hey, I've got a plan that will flush the villain out. Why don't you help me with it? And this is where we get the bit with Cass and Babs with the, I miss it too, which is really cool. But we get this montage where whatever the plan is, it involves them all getting dressed up in something, right? And there's this page that's just Vixen showing things to Cass to wear, and it's just Cassie's facial reactions to each of them, and they're all negative until the last one where she smiles. But the second last one cracked me up, and I'm like, I could screenshot that and use that for various things in the future.
Yep. Yeah. As a reaction, yeah.
It's basically just like that, like just this disgusted and like eek kind of thing. Very entertaining, and it's all told through the art. Obviously, there is dialogue too, but you could read this without the dialogue and it would work. But we see them like behind the dressing sort of curtains, and Canary's complaining that she's got them dressing up in lingerie, and she's like, "What? Your Black Canary outfit's like a swimsuit with like fishnets, but you think the fishnets make it less sexy?" It's like, that's not the point. So she's uncomfortable with this, and they do point out that the one who's underage, Sin, isn't going to be wearing this like a lingerie thing. She'll be disguised as a caterer. But the cliffhanger is that she's got them all at some sort of fashion runway thing, modeling these sexy outfits. So yeah, it's kind of a pulpy thing, you know. It feels like they're setting up, okay, we're doing like a sting at a fashion show, and it's an excuse to have them all wearing.
It's very Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Yeah.
We're gonna make them models, put them undercover, see how this works, see who gets like, and like, it's very little clothing too. So like, is it the amount of clothing that helps the possession, or whatever it is that's going on too? So it left me for some questions on that. So I thought, which is good.
It's everywhere, because Canary was wearing the t-shirt already, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, is that enough?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're expecting to be possessed here. Maybe one of them will get possessed. But I was thinking it's more just about, we're going to present them all the birds in one place so that they're likely to strike. It's a big profile public place kind of thing. And if the villain's whole plan is to discredit and get revenge on Vixen for something, then what better a stage than a fashion show that's showing off all of her product kind of thing.
Yeah.
I can see it lining up with the other plot as well, because if someone from the future, this will be a publicized event. They'll be very like, okay, there'll be a clear record of when and where. Right. So it'll be an easy target for them.
Yeah. It just says next time they're already in their underwear, what else do you want?
I thought that was quite funny.
Which was funny.
Just Dinah talking about not wanting to wear this type of stuff was very funny. Because again, the banter with her and Vixen.
Yeah. There was definitely like a nice thing here was that because we know this is written by a woman, it didn't feel like skeevy. Yeah, like it's the sort of thing where if a man wrote this, it might be fine. Like, it may not be doing anything too bad or anything, but there'll just be that little thing in the back of your head going, they're doing a bit of fan service with this kind of thing. So that's nice.
Yeah, it's the same in the opposite as what we got on like a lot of the Nightwing stuff with Taylor playing up, hey, Dick Grayson, he's got, you all love him. It's the same sort of thing. They played up that cheesecake angle for quite a lot of it, especially the early half of the run.
Yeah. It feels a little bit better because it feels like it can just be in good fun for the joke. And that's not to say that there's not an appeal to put in some sexiness into a story. There's nothing wrong with that necessarily.
You know 100% when they were choosing the artist for this arc, they were like, right, who can draw sexy? Because otherwise there's no point, right?
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think it coming from a woman just makes it feel like, okay, it's not coming from the male gaze, so you can just kind of enjoy it because it's not being presented with like any kind. Not malice isn't the right word, but like
there's like the best way I can say is that skeeviness. There's not like this. Look at this.
It feels earnest, I guess.
Well, just the fact too that Vixen's like, you wear fishnets. They're not supposed to be sexy, and Dinah doesn't have a good answer back.
It's just, I wear a jacket.
Yeah.
What I loved about that response though is that, but that's a relatively recent addition to that outfit. Like a long time went by where you didn't wear a jacket. It's fun. I think I really like the art. I think it's pretty stunning throughout. I think it fits the tone that the book already had with Romero. It's I can tell it's different. Don't get me wrong, but it feels like
it's the same space.
Yeah, it's more in line than that issue 5 artist was
for sure
with Romero.
Yeah.
So
I really like that. Like obviously it was very different, but that was the whole point of that issue, was a completely different perspective.
Right. And so, but I like that this is more in line with that, with Romero's art style, because it's out of that realm of Magira.
It feels like a fun caper sort of 2-issue, effectively almost a fill-in, but it's connected enough and they talk enough about the main thing going on that it doesn't feel like we're just ignoring it either. It feels like no, that's still something they're looking into, but we get to do this little fun thing in the meantime. Kind of like an episode of TV where they'll bring up the ongoing plot in a few scenes, but but the main plot of the episode's this other thing we're doing. So, plus it might end up really connected to it, assuming it is the same culprit that's coming after Vixen as the time traveler. So,
well, and I want that too, because we've seen people in the green, like Swamp Thing and Ivy do the timey-wimey thing where they're tapping into it. I think it was Swamp Thing and Justice League Dark where they use that aspect. So the fact that Thompson's pulling from that for maps, and then it's the Red that's doing the opposite, for dull purposes, right? So it seems like there's a bigger threat going on that, while they're dealing with this. There's that still in play, and I like that.
All right, nice touch at the start, actually. I don't really know a whole lot about Meridian. I know she's from Young Academy or Gotham Academy, whatever it's called, and she's popped up in some other things here or there. She was in Batgirls a little bit as a kid, and obviously we get this future version who's Meridian now. I liked a little bit at the start where they're kind of like rolling their eyes a little bit because she developed this technology and just kind of assumed that no one would be able to use it for nefarious purposes. But Babs kind of commends her that, it's actually kind of nice to see that you've kept that relentless optimism all the way from childhood to your current age. And I thought that did a lot to like endear the reader to her as a character, because it felt like, okay, Thompson clearly respects this character enough to try and give her a little bit of a shine. And I think if you do that enough, then she'll start to feel like an important character in the context of this book, and maybe get some new fans. She was getting, that was as much of a sweet moment for her as some of the other moments that we really liked about Babs and Dino were. So, if they get treated equally, then maybe as time goes on, we think of them equally. Obviously, right now, we think of Babs, Dinah, and Cass and Bard as, like, more important characters because we know them already, but, a little bit more of that, and it goes a long way. So, yeah, I thought this was a winner of an issue. I think this has been a great book, and I think that as much as I enjoyed the first arc, what it set up for its second arc is even more exciting, and I think this was a good next step that really just focused on the fun character dynamics, which is something that Thompson's really good at. So, all right, Connor, what are you giving Birds of Prey?
I'll give it an 8.
Matt?
8.5.
I think I concur with the 8.5.